skate date.
I love that you had to say okay 5 times before we started the theme music.
I just had a moment. I was just trying to collect myself.
Are you nervous?
Should I be?
Are you scatterbrained?
Have you ever played the game Scatterbrained?
No.
Oh, no, wait. That's Scattergories. Just kidding.
Anyways, welcome to Skate Date.
It's Skate Date. I'm Rebel.
I'm Shove.
And this is Skate Date.
What?
Skate Date.
I thought it was, and together we're Shovel. Can you dig it?
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
She is scattered.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Skate Date is a podcast brought to you by 2 roller skaters in love. They had nothing better to do during the pandemic, aka Pandaromio. That's not a word.
AKA the panorama.
The Panera bread.
The pandemonium.
The pixels.
The pandas.
So they started a podcast, but there's more to us than just skating. We also have opinions on the world.
So we were like, let's make a roller skate podcast, but also talk about the world. So we talk about the real world.
And the will world.
And we answer your questions, and we help you find a love.
Whether it's platonic or sexual. No, just kidding. Don't say sexual.
Sexual feeling. Or romantic.
Anyways, another week.
Another day, another dollar. Except we don't get any dollars from this.
Another day, another $-.
Just kidding.
What are we talking about in this episode, Pam?
Today we're talking about poverty complex. And we're also talking about how safety is sexy. And that's the main chunk of it.
Nice. And how are you doing this week? I've been seeing you, skating all over the place.
Yeah, I've definitely been skating a lot more than I was before. I did a little bit of dance skating yesterday. That was cool. So I'm getting more used to skating, but I'm still having a lot of pain. So it's been a fun, but also weird time.
Are you having a mental breakdown?
Currently, no.
Are you sure? Because you have bangs now.
Oh,
and dark hair.
That is the big thing that I was like, 2 weeks ago, maybe I was having a mental breakdown. But this week, I don't think so. So I was very, very sick of my red hair, even though many people were like, we like your red hairs. But I was like, so I said, hey, baby. Ms.
You went, hey, baby.
Hey, baby. Give me a new haircut and a new hair color.
What kind of accent was that?
I don't know. I don't do accents.
Obviously.
I really don't do accents. So this is what happened. And I think it's pretty cool. I love the art ho aesthetic that I love to rock. So I'm just trying to be Joan Jett, but in 2021.
Nothing happened to me.
Your hair is very, very long though.
Oh yeah, my fro, it grew.
You've also pulled some solid looks this last week.
Oh, thanks, babe. Yeah. Identity crisis much? No, just high fashion.
And many pairs of shell bells.
I was interviewed by a reporter this week, and then there was a photojournalist taking pictures of me on the ramp today. So that was exciting.
That was very exciting.
And then Bowie wore a bow tie today.
Mm-hmm.
Bobo and a bobo.
Bowie and a Bowie tooie.
So, babe, I hope you can be a little grounded since you're so scattered. And I see a bunch of crystals, big ass crystals on this table. So I hope it helps you. And I think you're going to talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, I am going to talk about them. Let me tell you a little something about these guys on the table. So one thing that you might want to know about me, or that you might already know about me, not sure, is that I am literally obsessed with crystals. I have been for a very long time, but it's very much so increased since Shove started enabling my habit.
I just stopped judging you.
Yeah, and everyone has always judged me in my life, and Shove is like, don't care, be you. And so now we have lots of crystals everywhere in the house, including this podcast table. And these particular crystals, I've got a nice big green fluorite, I have a little obsidian, a howlite, and a quartz with tourmaline. And I also have this little sage, rose, and palo santo bundle, ethically sourced. And all of these came from, I know I'm finally going to reveal my source of my crystals to you. I've always said it's a secret.
Are you sure you want to give away your secret? What if they buy up all the good stuff and there's nothing left for you?
Honestly, very concerned about that. But I am finally going to reveal to you because I just think I don't need to coat my entire house in crystals, and I should spread the wealth. So, yes. So the people that I get crystals from are actually a company called Black Coletta. Black Coletta, you can find all sorts of like really cool crystals, herb mixtures, ethically grown sage, and other like really cool kind of witchy things. I highly
we love a good witchy thing.
Highly recommend Black Coletta. Definitely could spend all of my money there. And so instead of spending all my money there, I have worked together a deal so that you could spend your money there, use code REBEL, and then you'll get a percentage off. You get 10% off if you use code REBEL at Black Coletta.
Ooh, 10% off crystals.
Kind of magical. A big deal. Kind of magical, kind of a big deal. And also, you know, just live your best crystal life. Like, really. Crystals are awesome. They have power, yo. I don't care if you don't believe me. Get some.
Even if they are just a pile of rocks, you still have a bunch of beautiful, shiny rocks.
Okay, honestly, though, like, wow, how amazing that this was a rock that was in the earth. Like, someone, you know the trash rocks that you see all the time? Like, you see trash rocks all the time. That's what I see around my house. But then someone was, like, going through the ground and was like, oh my God, obviously not a tower.
They were like, let me break this rock in anger. And they were like, oh my God,
look at this amazing thing. It came from the earth. What? I don't know. It just seems pretty amazing to me.
All I know is Rebel's going to let me borrow her wheels for something. So I'm doing tomorrow. Her wheels that she wore when she broke her leg. And I was like, oh, I'm going to sage these whole skates. I'm going to like take this. I'm going to get this Palo Santo out. It's going to be all over each wheel. I'm going to clean them. And they're going to be nice and positive and great again.
Yeah. I'm glad that she's doing that because I'm still scared of those skates.
All right, I think we should jump on into the real world.
So in the real world, we are going to talk about poverty complex. This is something I know a lot about. You also know a lot about this.
What is poverty complex?
Well, poverty complex is the idea, and it can come from so many different things. For me, it came from me growing up super poor. It also comes from society and, this idea that it's kind of cool to be poor. And I know that sounds really weird, but basically the whole idea is that when you do make money, you like either don't know how to use it, so you end up spending it, or you feel bad about having money. And then also it's the idea that like other people view people who have money as bad, essentially. Like, why do you have money? Because I don't get to have money. And so it's like this weird stigma around any amount of money that is not being poor. Oftentimes, people who come from poor families have a poverty complex. So, like, if you grew up poor and then you have even just, like, a medium amount of money, you might have a poverty complex. It's like long story short, a poverty complex is when you have a negative relationship with money, and it's directly associated to a history of poverty.
Do you mean like, so are you trying to say like if you feel guilty for having money, or like what is the emotion you feel growing up poor and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm actually like not struggling anymore?
No, it's a lot of emotions. I don't think that you can narrow down poverty complex to just one emotion. I think that feeling guilty about having money is one emotion that you have. I also think being confused about what to do with money is part of it. Mm-hmm. And I also think feeling like you did something wrong now that you have money.
So how would poverty complex, like, what does poverty complex look like in a poor person versus a person that has money that was poor?
So a poverty complex in a poor person might look like I will never be able to make money. Like, I will never be able to get out of this situation that I'm in. Once you've lived a certain amount of time and you've been stigmatized by, like, governments and other people, it can really feel like I am going to be poor forever.
Systemic racism.
Yeah, systemic racism. Just the fact that just systems are built to not help. As much as the American dream, quote unquote, the American dream exists, quote unquote, and it's this idea that, like, this rags to riches idea, or like this I'm gonna grow up and like have a bunch of money and be able to buy these things that I want. Like, the system is not created to actually make that happen. Mm-hmm. Specifically within America, it's really not designed so that poor people can get rich. The system is designed so that rich people stay rich and get richer, and that poor people remain poor, and the divide.
America is also getting rid of the middle class.
Yeah, the middle class is just dissolving. And so in a poor person, poverty complex usually looks like I am destined to be poor forever. And no matter how hard I work, I am going to continue to be poor. And a lot of times poor people who have a poverty complex also won't accept more money for their work, even though they deserve it.
Interesting.
And then a rich person, sorry, I'm talking a lot.
Because I feel like a lot of people are going to hear this and be like, I've never heard of this before, and I want to make sure it's explained well.
Yeah, so a poor person will, often undersell themselves, and also a poor person with a poverty complex might turn away handouts. Like, a lot of times they have a weird feeling about receiving anything for free. So even if it's not technically a handout, even if it's just like, hey, I wanted to give you something, because whatever reason, X, Y, and Z, like, a lot of times a poor person with poverty complex will not take anything for free, even if they're in a situation in which they literally can't pay for whatever it is. They will still try and pay for it. A rich person, a rich person. I'm gonna say rich, but like I don't.
Well off.
A person who is not struggling, that has poverty complex is usually someone who was poor in the past. And a lot of times they will feel a lot of guilt for having any amount of money at all. A lot of times they will squander their wealth, meaning they will spend on things because they never had the opportunity to spend on those things in the past and never felt like they were accessible. Or they will still spend money as if they are poor, meaning they will still go to the 99-cent store for all of their food. Maybe they don't know what to do with the money, so it kind of freaks them out, and they also might hoard it. So they either, it's one end of the spectrum or the other, usually when you are more well off and you have poverty complex, you'll either just like, it burns a hole in your pocket, or you'll be scared that you will never have.
I feel red because you're like touching things that I was going to talk about.
Amount of money. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I'm like, I feel red, because for me it's like our whole relationship, like, I have poverty complex. That's your poverty complex. But a lot of times I was just like, what the hell is she even talking about? And I was like, from context, I got like most of it, but then like yeah, like you explained even more of it. I'm like, okay, cool. But some background, we were both raised pretty damn dirt poor, like having to go and get a box of food. Like, she was religious, so she at least had the church behind her, and there was a lot of things she could do there. We used to have to pretend we were Christians so we could go to the church, local church, and sit through a sermon just to get a box of food for the holidays or just to have food for the week. To go to local pantries and stuff, and the good old government cheese.
Yeah, I literally, the reason why I didn't know I was lactose intolerant until I was an adult was because of government cheese.
And we moved a lot. I didn't have my own bedroom all through from 7th grade until my senior year in high school when we moved to an apartment. So I didn't have any privacy that whole time, and it was very important to have it. I ran away at one point and lived with a friend, but then I was addicted to drugs and lived in the streets for about 5 months in Compton, and just like crashed in parks or people's couches wherever I could. Came back home. I was still struggling. Finally got a job and then started paying rent. And then like for a long time, it was like paycheck to paycheck, or like make it like hoping I get those barista tips, because in my family, like even though my dad was becoming like well off, it was like, you don't ask for money, like you're working, you're an adult. So like as soon as I was done with high school, it was like, you have to pay rent now. You're gonna put in money for bills. There was a weird relationship with food in my family where I wasn't allowed to ask. I had to ask permission to eat anything in the house. It wasn't just like, come home and eat. Like, you weren't allowed to touch anything because
I had that.
We didn't have money to buy stuff. So it's like, you can't just go in and eat what you want. Like, we have to make that last. So like when I started working and buying stuff, never name brand because I was super poor, had to pay that rent still. And it was just like, a lot of people would try to like buy me things or give me things, and it was always just like, no, I'm good. I'm very independent. I didn't want anything from anyone. So like some things that Rebel was talking about, to this day, like now I can safely say I'm not one paycheck away from being homeless, but I'm 2 paychecks from being homeless. And it feels amazing to say that because not only am I working, but I'm also like selling my artwork and stuff. And I have a Patreon, which helps pay some bills. And like now, like, even though I'm not like, I don't got that, like, fuck you money, which would be like, yeah, look at me with all these cool stuff. I can say, like, I am, like, thriving, but at the same time, like, it's hard for me to save because my dad used to always joke, like, money burns a hole in your pocket. Because as soon as, like, I had a job that was, like, a little bit over minimum wage, I was like, oh, I'm not, like, as soon as it's payday, I bought something nice for myself. And I felt like, oh, I had to go my whole life without having anything I wanted. So now I always feel like, oh, if I want it, I'm going to get it because, like, I can. And for a long time, there was like a guilt to that. And then now I'm starting to be like, oh, I should. But then I feel guilty to like talk about it. So whenever I'm on social media, I won't post anything that was like a huge win for me, even though it was like really important. Like when I got my car, even though it was still not new, it was still like a used car and still like a year old. For me, it was a big deal because it wasn't a hoopty off the side of the street like I was used to. Like it actually ran well. It had air conditioning, all this stuff that I was like, I will never have. And, like, my family never had nice stuffs like that. So, like, for me, it was like, oh, like, I can't put this on social media because there's some weird, like, guilt of, like, oh, look at you, you're rich. Like, you got a car, blah, blah. And even though it's like, nah, I gotta make those payments, like, it's not like that. But, like, and then a lot of my followers are young, so like I was struggling in my youth, and I think when you get your 30s, you finally start having a job and making more money and like making smarter decisions and like knowing how to put money aside to get the things that you need or want. And there's still this weird stigma that anytime, like, there was a weird Reddit thread that was like, when I was laid off or furloughed, that they were like, why does Chev need money? Rebel's rich. She's a famous YouTuber. And it was like, what? Like, do you not understand, like, how money actually works and how much people are getting paid and how expensive it is to live in California?
Yeah.
Like, in Long Beach alone. And it's just like, I feel like a lot of people just look and they're like, oh, you got a fancy tattoo or you bought a ramp, so you're obviously rich. You're not struggling. And it's like, we're just in our 30s and we know, like, I don't know. We
don't have kids.
Yeah, and we don't have kids. So it's like so much easier to do these things. And we know to like treat ourselves to the things we want, and then we know that, oh, okay, now we're gonna have to like sacrifice other things to be able to do it. And like even right now I feel so uncomfortable having this conversation. Like when people owe me money, I'm like, there's been times people like thought they paid me and they didn't, and I just let it slide, and it's been like hundreds. And because I feel so weird, like the whole topic of like you owe me money, because it makes me so uncomfortable, and I'm just like, it's fine, I'll just go without it.
Yeah, so as Chev said, I grew up poor, and I was blessed to be a part of a church, and I think that they really took care of us. They really took care of my family. I remember getting packages in the mail that would be like, you know, gas money, like a gas gift card, and being like, oh, cool, like we can drive to school today. And it was a weird situation because I didn't necessarily, I don't know, I didn't realize I was poor per se, because it was like, there's a weird thing with religion. Maybe you've experienced this, maybe you have not. But there's like a weird thing with religion where like being poor is kind of like cool because you're like giving everything to God or whatever. I don't know. It's weird. So it just like never felt, I don't know, like I never felt the residual damage of being poor until I was older, because I didn't realize what I was missing out on. Like, yeah, I had that same thing where it was like, oh, we can't afford anything. And I was like, okay, whatever. And like, oh, we don't have, you know, any food, but my dad just went to the pantry every Saturday. And like we went to prayer breakfasts, and we went to like, we just overdid church where they would feed us. Like, I would always get food at church. Like most of my food memories are from church. And so I'm very grateful for that. But growing up, I ended up having someone who kind of stepped into my life, who was my teacher, who ended up like straight up like taking me in as a daughter, like bought me clothes, like fed me all the time, like let me stay at her house a couple nights a week, and just straight up like took care of me. And so I think because of her, I don't struggle with that same thing that you struggle with, which is the like not being able to take things from people. Mm-hmm. I think I was kind of in a situation where the way my parents brought me up was within the church. So it was like safe to take things from people, and they weren't looking at us weird. They were just like, this is, you know, our duty as a God person. I'm supposed to give you food and stuff and like take care of everyone.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I kind of escaped from that part of it. But like definitely now I struggle with poverty complex. Like I save so much money. And the reason why I save, and not so much money like I have like a crap ton of money, but just like I save so much of my paycheck. And the reason why I save it is because I'm like terrified that crap's gonna go down. And so I feel like I have to have this like nest egg, because the way things went down with my family when they did go down was like our car was repoed. Like I had just gotten into an accident and like totaled my car, and that was after I had started working, and our house went into foreclosure in one weekend. And like I gave my entire savings to my parents, but then I, as a, 18-year-old, had to declare bankruptcy because I couldn't afford, because my parents had taken my insurance money that they were supposed to be like paying my insurance and I'd put it towards the house or something else. And so I totaled my car and took an ambulance to the hospital on zero insurance. And so I was totally screwed. And so just that experience and, the experience of growing up, like I just have all this like weird trauma from it. But like, yeah, I definitely experienced what you're saying about shame around any sort of money I have. To this day, I lie to people about anything that has to do with money because I am like scared of people finding out that I can like buy food for myself. And it's really weird. It's like I definitely need to process it in therapy because I don't know how to stop lying about the amount of money that I get.
It was really hard for me when we got furloughed at Coffee Bean and I had to go on unemployment. They were like, oh, just go and you qualify because, like, there's two things as a Black person that I'm always like, this will not happen to me. I will not be a stereotype. It's like, I don't want to be on welfare and I don't want to go to jail. Like, those are the two things that I try to, like, live, like, too, like, hard, like, make these decisions. Are these going to cause you to have to do these things? Like, I've either worked 2 jobs. I've worked where I worked 2 months straight before without a single day off because I was hustling. There's always been some kind of side hustle. Like, I've never had to be, like, a moment once I was, like, after high school at 18 that I stopped working. So it was, like, so hard for me to be like, oh my God, I have this on my record now. Like, I did this. Like, it was so hard to be like, accept this help from the government because I just had that in my mind and it's just, like, so stupid. Like how you said, like, I said, like, the whole, like, burning money through my pocket is since I feel like, oh, like, this is, even though I'm, like, not rich by any means and I don't have much savings, since I know, like, oh, like, I'm not gonna have to eat top ramen till payday like I used to do. When I see people that are in need on Instagram, I'll ask for their Venmo, or if it's posted, I'll just send them money, like GoFundMe's, and it's just, like, something, like, I've sent people $100 before because they couldn't make rent, and it's, like, weird because it's, like, to know that, wow, you just sent someone $100 and you're not, like, expecting that back, but it's because, like, I know how hard it can be, so I feel like I have the power to help someone. So it's like, I don't know, it's one of those things, like, I feel like I have to do.
It's interesting that you say that because I definitely feel similar to that. I don't feel like it's something that I have to do. Like, I don't feel, like, compelled to do it. I just feel so, like, amazed that I can do it. And so proud that I get to be able to do that. Because I remember, you know, people giving me money even when I was in college and I was working my butt off, but I was giving a lot of money to my family. Like, I was giving a lot of my money to my family, even though I was working, the same as you, multiple jobs, and just, like, I've been working and consistently working. And just, I remember, like, a speech coach that I had sent me to Flame Broiler and was like, keep the change, and gave me a 20. And I was like, oh my God, I just got $10. And I just remember being so stoked.
Yeah.
And like, so I try and replicate that in my life, you know, whether it's through Venmo or any, like, a personal situation. And it's just, like, so weird, but so awesome to be able to do that.
Going to a restaurant and being, like, leaving a good sized tip, like, that's always my, like, major flex now. Because I remember being, like, the person, like, well, the service wasn't that good. They didn't fill my water. We're splitting the check, but I only got a salad and 1 drink, so I don't think we should split. Like, that was my life, like, freaking out, counting up, like, what was on the menu, what was the cheapest, and, like, tipping bare minimum. I'm like, well, here's $4, thank you. And now, like, I try to make sure, like, hey, these people need it, and I try to make sure they get paid, because I'm like, now that I've been in the service industry and, like, know what it's like to have to live off of tips, it's, like, changed my view. And I feel like everyone should try to do that if they can.
Yeah.
But then you have some people that are, like, whether they were poor and are rich now, or not even, like, rich, but, like, well off, and then, like, or just were born in that life, that I feel like they don't tip, they don't do mutual aid, and that's, like, that's how they actually get rich from well off.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I think that's a difference between someone who grew up poor and now has, like, a medium amount of money, which I read something somewhere that it's like people who have a medium amount of money out-donate, out-give
People, a medium amount of money.
People who have, like, a large amount of money, you know? And I think it's because people who have a medium amount of money, like, they've probably been in the spot that we've been, you know, maybe not to the extreme, but, like, they've experienced that, and so they know what it's like, and they know the difference, literally the difference that $25 can make on someone, or $50 or $100. Like, it's wild.
No, for sure. It's like when you think about, like, getting a street sweeping ticket back in the day, I would have been like, well, I'm not gonna eat versus like getting a street sweeping ticket. A street sweeping ticket now. It's like, yeah, this sucks, but I'm just gonna pay it right now and not worry about it. But I remember having to put them off. Like I lost a car because I couldn't make all of this. I kept getting sweeping. I cannot say that.
Tickets.
Yes, and like just random like parking tickets, and then like I was so poor and it caught up with me. And then they're like, "Well, we're taking your car," and they were like, "It's gonna be $800 plus all the tickets to get it out." And I was like, "Keep the car." I got a bicycle, and then I rode a bike for almost a year.
Yeah, and what's wild is that, like, for me at least, like, I feel like maybe you've gotten over this. This is the one that's still getting to me. But when I get a street sweeping ticket or any sort of, like, bill that comes in that's, like, more money, I panic. Like, even though, like, I know I'm okay. Like, I know I can pay my bills. I still panic. And I think that that's like residual damage because I spent so much time panicking over things that came in that were unexpected, like a ticket or, you know, like the electricity bill is a little bit larger or, you know, something like that. And so I think it's like ingrained into my system.
Yeah, it's like trauma. It's all like, you remember what it's like having your parents. Like, I remember like not being able to pay, my family couldn't pay the bill and having to like run the hose from the neighbors over, and then it's like boiling water to put in the tub because we had no water. We didn't and then there were times we didn't have gas or electricity, so it's like, oh, we're gonna have flashlights and candles for like a month. And that was just like my life, and I didn't know at the time how bad it was. So I got older and I started thinking about it and being like, yeah, we were definitely dirt poor.
Yeah, and it's wild to think about, like you were saying earlier, like this weird shame to post and to talk about like money that, like, we're in our 30s, right? And so like we have enough money to get by, and yet I feel like I need to hide like my ability to pay my bills. Almost like there is this idea within the skate community, specifically because so many skaters are not, like, are broke and are young, that like you are, you know, crazy rich if you have more than a couple pairs of skates. And it's like, no, I just, like, I'm a literal teacher and I have multiple jobs on top of me being a teacher, and I work really hard to make the money that I do so that I can live my 30s as like an adult. And I think when you have all these 18-year-olds and like 20-year-olds looking at you.
And then you have people that are younger that are like not making the pay because they're still starting, gaining the experience, and then they want to hire you for like to commission things, and you tell them your adult experience, like 15 years of experience, like that they're buying, and then they're like, that's too expensive, like and then they go on the internet and they talk about how overpriced you are, and you're like, my artwork I've been working on for 15 years, like it costs money. Or like you have professional graphic designers that have worked for major brands, like multi-million brands, and then you're getting shocked that they're going to charge you hundreds of dollars for a logo. Like, you're not just going to someone that's just starting out. And I think like it's important that if you're listening to this and you're a young person that's in college, maybe not even in college, you're just right out of high school, and you got to remember, like, I think a lot of people think everyone in the skate community is the same age, and we're not. And
a lot of us are not the same age.
And with experience, you will charge more for your services. I hope you do anyways. And the people you go to that have that experience, you're paying for their experience and their talent, and that's why it costs more. Some people do, like, you shouldn't judge because someone's like flossing, and like, I don't know, like, there's this whole thing. This might make some of you feel uncomfortable, but it's in a song when it's all like, he's nigga rich, but at least a nigga's nigga rich. And that's how I feel like. It's a whole thing in the black community. If you're black, you know what I'm talking about. When someone's nigga rich, that means we get money and we spend it. We get money and we spend it. Like, because we know at any moment it can be taken away, and we get addicted to like things. So we want to like ride that high of having things. So that's why you'll hear that saying in songs, or like if you're in the culture, you already know what it means. So I definitely feel like that applies to me. And I feel like that's why you see people like living in the hood, but they have a really nice car that's decked out. It has the dubs on it. They have the best sound system, or they have really nice expensive sneakers, but they're like struggling to eat and pay their bills. And it's just this weird like thing we have in our head that at least we have physical things to show for it. And then I feel like when you are in the hood and you like floss on all that stuff, no one really says anything. But then like when you're in suburbia or you look like this and then you show off things you buy, all of a sudden it's like this weird like bad thing that you're doing.
Yeah. And I was talking to my friend about like, I don't know, just this kind of in general, because she also, a lot of people that I'm friends with have like poverty complexes. And she said, yeah, it's why we like nice things. It's because we didn't have nice things. Yeah. And now we have the opportunity to have nice things, and it's hard not to continue buying nice things. And we get a rush.
Like you should see Rebel, and that's why we have so many clothes and stuff. It's like, you get this rush from shopping and being like, oh, the endorphins. Like, I got something I wanted in my whole life. I couldn't get things I wanted.
Your whole life, you're told no. Like, literally, my whole life. Like, I was poor until I was probably 26. Like, I think I was, like, still in that moment until I was about 26. And I was constantly told no. Like, anything. And, like to the point where we were at the Goodwill. And it was like, Goodwill is too expensive. You know, like Goodwill was known as the expensive thrift store. Like we couldn't go there because we couldn't afford the clothes at Goodwill. And so you live your whole life like that. And then all of a sudden you have some money and you're like, whoa, like what do I do with this?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we've been talking about this
for a long time. So we need to move on. But the poverty complex, do you have it? Tell us about it in the comments.
You have your wheelie shoes on.
For the wheel world, we're going to talk about the policing of safety gear. This is another topic that we could go on about for a very long time, but we're not going to because we talked so much in the last segment.
I freaking hate it when people are like, you're doing something, you're skating, and people comment and they're like, wear your knee pads. You should wear knee pads.
I've been getting those comments more frequently recently, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk about this, is because we talk about body positivity and ownership over your own body and body autonomy, and that's really, really, really important. You as a person have the right to do whatever you want with your body. Period.
And you as a person did not have the right to tell other people what they should do with their bodies.
Yeah, and so I feel like for the most part, it's understood within the skate community when it comes to clothing. Like, oh yeah, you can wear what you want. You're not gonna, we don't hoe shame. We don't do any of that. We let people, show whatever they want or not show whatever they want. We don't care. Like, it's awesome. But I don't think we've gotten to that point with like people's health when it comes to safety gear. So like, I say safety is sexy, and I think that that's a really great phrase to use. And the reason why I say it is because I want people to not feel ashamed or embarrassed. I want people to feel empowered for when they choose to wear safety gear. And I advocate for safety gear, especially for beginners.
Yeah, because people are always like, I'm afraid people are going to make fun of me for wearing safety gear. Or so they don't wear it. They want to wear it, but they don't because they think there's a stigma that they look like a geek or a nerd or an uncool because they have it on.
But that's not true. If
you don't want to wear it, it should be because like, hey, I feel confident and I feel like I know how to land safe, and like, if I fall, I fall. If I bleed, like, blood doesn't scare me that much. Like, I'm going to be fine. Like, I'm going to do this. And you fall and you're either like, didn't like that. Going to wear gear next time. Or you're like, I'm fine. And you don't. But, like, it's your own personal journey. So as much as, like, we might be like, we recommend that you wear these when you're new. We're not going to say, like, you're new, you better wear these. And then comment on your videos.
Yeah, it's really important that you know the risks that you're taking. And that's one of the reasons why I advocate so hard for beginners to wear gear, is because a lot of times beginners do not know the risk they are taking. I have lots of people, especially on my YouTube, being like, you broke your leg skating? And I'm like, yeah. And that's like the
with all your gear on.
And that's the smallest of the things that can happen to you.
And I repeat, she had all her gear
all
on.
of my gear on. All of it on. And so it's really frustrating to me when people just fixate on the fact that people are or aren't wearing gear. Who are we to say you can't wear gear, or you should be wearing gear, or I'm going to unfollow you because you're not wearing gear? It's like, why? Like,
and are you on skateboarders posts going like, where's your gear? Why aren't you wearing that? Or are you at everyone that's like in a roller rink saying, where's your gear? Because a lot of people have commented on my stuff and they're like, you should wear gear. And I go to their page and they're in a roller rink and they're not wearing gear. People break bones and indoors too.
All the time.
Or I'll see them like skating on the street and I'm like, and it's people that will follow you forever, and then they comment on a random post, and I'm like, you've been following me for so long, and you don't see me wearing it, but all of a sudden.
And as someone who just got injured really badly, lots of people have opinions immediately as soon as someone gets injured about their use or lack of use of pads. And here's the thing, like, no, you don't get to just all of a sudden have an opinion about someone's use of gear or not use of gear because they got injured. And also, if you're saying that to someone who just got injured, that is not the right thing to be saying to someone who just got injured. That is just going to be more harmful. And you're just making yourself look like a bully.
Yep.
So don't do it. Don't police people's bodies.
Yeah, it's such a weird comment, too. Like, you had the time to be like, watch this video and just be like,
where's your helmet?
Type, where's the helmet?
Like, I don't know. I know I sound pissed off, but that's because I have a lot of personal experience with this, especially right now.
And at the end of the day, like, I miss what roller skating should be punk rock. Like, skate culture shouldn't be this thing where it's like 24/7. You should have like full gear on. Oh, did you have a drink and skate? Did they smoke weed and skate? Oh, they're jumping off stairs. Oh my gosh, you're doing all this stuff. It's so reckless. Why is their music so loud?
That's what roller skating is.
Skate culture should be grimy. It should be fun.
It's dirty. Like, it's reckless.
Yeah, you see people dance skating and they're doing like a little twerk. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to make you feel your own. It's not 100% family safe. Like, that's for family day at the rink. Skating should be fun and doing whatever the hell you want that makes you feel powerful and badass. It's not all Care Bears and sunshine and padded.
And if you feel attacked by this conversation, we're not attacking you. We're letting you know that there is another level of body autonomy and respecting other skaters that you should examine. Mm-hmm. We're not saying that you're a bad person if you have done this. We're saying let's be more mindful of other people, their experiences, and not gatekeep the experience of roller skating.
Yeah, do you go to a pregnant women's post and say, should have wore a condom? I bet you don't. Imagine. I'm going to start doing that for fun.
Oh, no. And on that note, do you have anything else to say?
No.
On that note, let's move on to Find Your Skate Date.
Chills, electrifying.
Let's find your skate date, baby.
Find your skate date is when you write in because you're like, I'm just a lonely skater and I don't know where all the cool skaters are in my little city or big city. I feel all alone. And then you write in and you're like, this is a little bit about me. Here's a little picture. This is what I'm looking for. And sometimes you're looking for a roller skate love or a roller skate friend. No one's looked for love yet.
No one yet. But
sometimes friends turn into lovers, like me and Rebel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like you could just write in with a bio, Tell us like little fun facts about you and your Instagram. And we try to put it out into the universe so that another skater's like, wait a minute, I live in that area too. And then they follow you. And then hopefully from there, a friendship blossoms. Because the pandemic's almost over. So anyone that's finding these skate dates will be able to be united.
Yeah, and also, if you don't follow our Instagram, we also post the skate date, their picture on our Instagram. Mm-hmm. So go to @skatedatepod. Whoa. Go to @skatedatepod on Instagram, and you will find our Instagram. Mm-hmm. Okay, so our skate date for today is Ashley.
I used to collect Ashley's.
You really did. Okay. My name is Ashley. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in my 30s, have a little social anxiety, but a good sense of humor. I love Harry Potter, boba tea, coffee, and just hanging out and doing nothing. I miss concerts and eating out, but I'm fully vaccinated, so feeling hopeful this might happen someday. I started skating in January. I can do some super basic moves. I'm terrified of toe stops, and 50% sure I can stop rolling when I need to. LOL. That being said, I love skating. I work at an elementary school overseeing curriculum and instruction and spend most of my time outside of that with my 3-year-old son and husband. While I love my job and my family, I have somehow found myself in a place where I work and mom, but I don't really have a life of my own. I would love to connect with some casual skaters in the area and to find some new friends, because that is super hard at this stage of my life. I'll be real, I can probably only meet up on the weekends because life is busy and I am notorious for bailing on all plans on weekdays, but I would love to finally skate with someone else and somewhere else other than my backyard. My ultimate skate goal right now is to skate on the street, but I definitely don't want to try alone. Thanks for reading this over, Ashley, at Bowtie Noodles.
Bowtie Noodles.
Oh my God, Ashley, I want to be your friend.
Aw, I love that.
And her pronouns are she, her.
Aww.
Okay, so if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, hint, hint, nudge, nudge to someone very specific.
That also may have a family too.
That also may have a family and is also in their 30s. Yeah, if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, also it could be someone other than that, obviously. Then you should hit up Ashley and get a skate date. Be Ashley's skate date. I love this. This is so cute. I love this segment.
Right, and I think it's like... It's one of the things that's always scared me whenever I think about, like, possibility of being a mom is, like, losing yourself. And it's just be like, because you have to give so much. It's not even like you have to, but it's like that want to, like, give love to your partner, give love to your child or children, and then, like, do your job. And then it's like, where's the time for yourself? And I think it's just super important. I'm glad you have roller skating. I think it's super important that you're putting the effort in to make that time for yourself.
I've also heard that there are some dope skate parks in Phoenix. So get yourself rolling forward and in the street, and then maybe someday.
I don't know about during the summer, though, but y'all crazy out there. You're like 100 degrees?
Super
Who cares?
Crazy. You're like 100 degrees? Oh, it's chilly. Crazies. Okay, so if you think that you are Ashley's skate date, hit her up at Bowtie Noodles on Instagram. I love Bowtie Noodles. They're very good.
It's funny because I don't think you've ever met a noodle you didn't like.
I have not met a noodle.
Goes into the pasta aisle and just grabs any... like random, and she's like, "This looks cool."
I like the weird shaped noodles.
She does.
They taste better.
So yeah, and I'm like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" She's like, "I don't know. Throw a sauce on top of it." And I'm like, "Oh God." All right, so we're in our Dear Shovel segment.
Dear Shovel is where you have questions about life and literally anything. And you send those questions into us at dearskatedate@gmail.com, which is also, if you would like to be featured on Find Your Skate Date, you would also email to dearskatedate@gmail.com. And so, yeah, so if you have a question about anything, we will do our best to answer it.
Let's jump on in. Dear Shovel, how am I supposed to derby associate with people that have been publicly toxic for a whole ass year?
Oof. This is a question I am asking myself in this very moment.
You're in derby, roller derby that is, for people that are like, what's derby? Racing horses? No.
Roller derby.
Roller derby, the game where
you
beautiful
hit people
put on short shorts and fishnets and hit people with all the rage, and then they drink a beer with one another after. And you love these people. You trust these people. You play games with these people. You party
see them at
with
your
these
worst, your best.
And then a pandemic happens and derby stops. You don't really see anyone in derby except for online. And you're like, wait, are they wearing a MAGA hat? Wait, they're anti-choice? Wait, they haven't worn a mask this whole time and hosted huge gatherings? Ugh, what?
And you're like, I thought I knew you.
Thought you were my teammate and
I thought
a friend.
you were my friend.
Thought you were my derby wife, my derby sister.
Yeah, and then you find out that they're toxic as hell.
And then derby starts up again.
And you have to get in a wall with them.
You gotta lock side by side, all nice and cuddly. What do you do?
I feel like all we did was just make the situation more anxiety filled for this person. But, well, one good thing. The first thing that comes to my mind is y'all scrimmage. That means that if you end up on the opposite team as them, you can hit them so freaking hard. You don't need to explain yourself. You can just take all your rage and anger into hitting them.
Yeah, because it's like, we can't just go around, well, we can go around
like
punching
chucking
Nazis
people
and stuff. Like, you can, but you might go to jail. You know, like, you get caught. But on the track, especially if you're in the Renegade League.
Yeah, you can get in all sorts of fights.
Go ham. And just like, no, like, I might be stuck in this league with this person, but I know what you did. I saw what you did. I heard what you said. And we're not always going to be on the same team.
Yeah, sometimes there are intramurals. Sometimes there are scrimmages. And you can just be like, I'm mad about this game. But in your head, you're like, I'm mad that you are a white supremacist.
Yeah, I think it's just like, handle it on the track, but then it gets weird because like all those fun after things, like you want to go rollouts with your league, you want to do extracurricular activities, like.
You know what though? I have learned recently that like just because you're on a team with someone, or even just because you're at the same rollout or you're at the same anything, just because you're coworkers with someone does not mean needing to spend time with them.
Yeah. But it's like weird because sometimes you want to go because other people are going and like it gets weird and mesh. And that's another weird thing too. Weird. Is that like even though you know like, okay, I don't want to associate with those people, and then you're friends with these other people, but then they're kind of like, oh yeah, I know they're hella toxic, but I still hang out with them because we don't discuss politics. And then you're like, well, are you now a bad person by association and I don't want to hang out with you either? Like, it gets weird. It's a messy situation.
I feel weird about it when people are like, I just don't have an opinion. And I'm like, you don't have an opinion about people's lives? Like, I just find that fascinating. But I'm also blunt.
You're like, they think that all gay people will go to hell, but you know, they're cool. And then you're like but I'm gay. Skater. And they're like, yeah, you're gay and I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and you're fine.
And it's like, you can't just always ride that middle. And I think like the answer to this is really just like, just because, like Rebel said, just because you're on the same team doesn't mean you have to be friends. It sucks because you have to trust this person to have your back on the track and you want to celebrate with them. But you have friends in real life that aren't in that derby league, and you just focus on making those friendships better. You can always try to teach the people that are problematic and toxic and be like, hey, we need to have a talk, but sometimes ignorance just can't be fixed. Some people don't want to. They're stuck in their ways. But at least if it makes you feel better, you could try.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, like, for me, I had, like, 1 or 2 people that were really, really close to me in my derby league. And, like, I spent most of my time with them, you know? And you really can do that when you're in a derby league. Like, after parties and stuff, you can hang out with 1 or 2 people. Like, you don't have to be, like, hanging out with everybody or at that table or with those people, you know? Like, you can still separate yourself out a little bit, and that's totally okay.
Or if you're, like, super, super, super full of anxiety, just leave that league and join another.
Because guess what? There's a million leagues.
Yep.
And also, I have a feeling, and I don't know, we'll see, but I have a feeling that many new people who picked up skating over this thing are going to be really interested in roller derby.
Yep.
So I think that there are going to be leagues that are just full of faces that you've never seen before.
So true. I'm going to start my own derby league.
I'll join.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Sounds good.
I'm going to write it in the laws that if you're a toxic person, you can get kicked out.
I love that.
Keep all your dues.
Oh my God. And we keep your dues?
Duh.
Hopefully that answered your question. I don't know. Maybe it did.
But we know you in real life, so we could talk about this more later.
When this person is really one of those, like, 2 friends that I have in my derby league. All right. Well, hope we answered your question. Don't forget to send in Dear Shovel questions because we're trying to be like an advice column, but for your ears. Not like on a newspaper. Why are you rubbing your nose on the microphone?
It feels nice.
Oh my gosh.
I had an itch and I was like, ooh, that feels good.
So we just wanted to take this last moment of our podcast and just give a big shout out to someone who has given us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
I want to say the name. Jello Bish.
Dope name.
I like Jello Bish.
Do you want to read this?
Sure, I'll try.
Shove is blind.
All right. Title. Love this podcast. Stars. All 5. Jellobish says, I look forward to Wednesdays with 3 exclamation marks.
We love exclamation marks.
I love Shovel. You two have such positive vibes and have really given me the motivation to get out there and skate and not worry that I'm a plus size skater.
Yeah.
Also, you ain't afraid to say the truth.
That's true.
You two are the most realist it's gonna get.
Aww.
Please don't stop the podcast. I can't wait for the next episode.
All these people are scared because you threaten them. Babe, you're so horrible. They're so horrible. She will not be threatening in the future.
I haven't been saying it that much anymore.
Yeah, you haven't. But, like, people are kind of behind.
Yeah, I know. No, I know that. But I'm just saying I'm getting better.
Yeah, you are getting better. I think you're having more fun with it.
I freaking hate this podcast.
No, you don't. Shut up. Do you really?
No, I love it.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Jello Bish, for having the dopest name ever. And also, thank you for giving us 5 stars. We really appreciate it. One day, we think that maybe the iTunes gods and goddesses will recognize us. Maybe someday. Won't. Maybe someday if we get enough 5-star reviews. So, thank you so much for contributing to my little dream of someday being noticed as a podcast. So, please give us 5 stars and we'll shout you out and talk about how awesome you are.
Yeah, because I still don't understand the podcasting and why any of that is important, and I don't really know. But apparently, some people that are in podcasts and they do well, they can do tours. And the only thing I wouldn't really care about the whole like let's travel and like talk to people. But what I care about is that after Rebel runs her mouth and talks to everyone and it's like, yeah, I'm on the stage and lives her best life, I'll be like, all right, bishes. Yeah, you Jello Bish and friends, we're going to go skate afterwards. So I'd be excited about traveling and having rollouts after each skate day. And Rebel would be like, I'm wearing a cape and I'm on stage with a fancy drink, talking to people, doing skate day live.
I feel so attacked right now. I also enjoy skating. What the hell?
I know, but I feel like you really love being on a stage.
I do. I really love being on the stage. And I miss being on stage.
And I would be on stage like this, like, okay, yeah, so skate date. I just pretend you're in your garage. Pretend you're in the garage. And I'd be like, is this over yet?
Oh my God.
So maybe one day let's manifest it so skate date can come to a city near you.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, our manifestation for like a year or two. Because it ain't happening anytime
That was
soon.
our Aries new moon manifestation.
Even though the new moon was
yesterday. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us today. I really loved it. And I hope you'll go on another skate date with us.
We love you.
Did I sound sweet?
Like fake sweet.
No, okay. I'm real sweet right now. Okay. I hope you really enjoyed our skate date. I did. Was that real?
Real enough. Bye.